it's me, MLB. Here is part 6 of the Miss Hashira. Enjoy. Oh, you thought with a mix of mild panic yet calmness. This isn't good. You guessed that this was the doings of a demon, and berated yourself for not listening to Muichiro when he told you not to move. He must have either sensed something that you hadn't, or seen something that you hadn't, and tried to warn you. Still having your sword drawn, you held it out in front of you, moving it around a little to feel the viscosity around you. I'm definitely in some kind of weightless hold, you thought. I don't think I'm visible to Muichiro. Have I been put in some kind of portal? How do I get out of here? You looked around in the darkness as you pondered what to do. I could just wait for Muichiro. I'm assuming the quickest way to get out would be to kill the demon that's doing this. You tried to swim in a direction, but you didn't feel like you were getting anywhere. This is very frustrating, you thought with a scowl. I wonder if I can use my skills in here. Am I inside a demon? Maybe it's not a portal. If it's some kind of tangible place, I should be able to rupture it from the inside. Feeling like you should at least try something, you flicked your sword up and gripped firmly around the hilt. I'll use a long-range attack. My second form is probably the longest attack I have, you thought, taking a steadying breath in and thinking about the projection of your attack. Second form, orange! You shouted into the void. There was no echo, nothing in the way of feedback, like your voice hadn't even projected, and for a second you wondered if you'd even said anything out loud. As you swiped your sword down, a spiral of orange shot forwards, spinning like a corkscrew shape as it shot off into the void. It was a weird sensation watching your attack disappear off into the darkness that felt like it had enclosed around you. You were trapped in a small yet vast space, and it threw your spatial awareness for a second. Shortly after your attack disappeared, you heard a loud rumbling. You waited. It settled. Nothing happened, but you felt like your attack had possibly hit something in the distance. Maybe if I try it again? You wondered. Setting yourself up for a second, go at it. It was odd throwing such a forceful attack without having anything to plant your feet on. You were so used to being able to stand on something when fighting, but this gave you a good chance to project from your core, like your grandfather had always taught you. Second form, orange! You shouted, watching your orange spiral attack shoot out faster and more piercing than before, going further into the void this time. And this time the rumbling happened again, but much quicker after your second attempt. What if I do a combination of orange and ultraviolet? Ultraviolet is also a great long-range attack, you thought, as you set it up again for your third go at the attack into the void. Second form, orange! Sixth form, ultraviolet! You shouted, swiping your sword violently and grunting with effort each time you swung it to create your attacks. Your spiral attack shot forwards, closely followed by the ultraviolet, and you waited. Just then the rumbling came on, followed by a shaking of your darkened world, but all you could feel were the vibrations shimmering around you. You looked left and right, trying to work out if there was a direction that the rumbling and shaking was coming from, and then all of a sudden your world was shattered into a million sparkling crystals, and Muichiro was right there, mid-jump, coming straight for you. You didn't have a chance to do anything before he grabbed you and continued on, landing on the floor of the castle with you clutched to his front. Oh, was all you could say, as you stood there with sword in hand dropped to your side, your face mushed into his chest. Are you okay? He asked. Yeah, what happened? You asked. I told you not to move, but you did. You got swallowed by a demon. He replied, I lost you. Don't ever do that again. His voice sounded different, and you lifted your head to look up at him. This is a different tone. He sounds like he actually cares, you thought, as you looked up and he looked down, his brilliant blue eyes shining as he stared into yours. Sorry, you said blandly. We need to get this book and go. We risk getting spotted if we stand still, he replied, grabbing your hand and turning to run to the closest set of stairs. Well, I think we've already been spotted, but I guess the two demons that could have seen us are now dead, so they can't tell anyone, you mused out loud, but Muichiro wasn't listening. He was too focused on getting up those stairs, getting the book, and getting out. You had no choice but to keep up with him as he ran, and you turned your attention back to the mission at hand, feeling and sensing for other demons in the castle. As you ran up the stairs, you sensed there was one ahead, but it appeared that Muichiro had already sensed it too, and as you turned to run up the next flight, he let out a hissing sound and mist quickly encompassed you both. Still using your senses, you readied your sword with one hand and swiped it up, silently calling out your sixth form and projecting it in the direction of the demon that you could feel. You were unsure if your attack hit the mark, but you heard a faint cry and the presence of the demon dissipated, so you could only assume that your attack had worked. But by that time, you and Muichiro had gotten to the top of the stairs and had stopped, his mist abating for a second to let you see what was ahead. There was a long corridor ahead with 3 doors on each side and 1 door at the end, but you could feel the presence of a lot of demons in the second door on your left. That one, you said softly to Muichiro, pointing to the door with your sword. He nodded. I feel it also, he replied, still holding your hand in his. His grip was strong yet gentle, and his hand was lovely and warm, a lot warmer than your Arctic cold fingers. It was then that you noticed that you were colder than usual. But now wasn't the time to think too much into it, so you kind of just had a, that's weird moment, and then stepped forwards with him. Use your sixth form as soon as I open the door, Muichiro said, and your heart nearly burst. Wait, he remembers my forms? You thought with delight. What colour is that? You asked him, just testing to see if he knew. Ultraviolet, he replied, without looking at you, and you pulled a loved-up face. Now really wasn't the time to get gushy, but you couldn't help it for that second. You both walked quietly to the second door on the left, and he reached for the handle, and then squeezed your hand as a signal to get ready, and then pulled the door open, letting go of your hand to let you fight uninhibited. You could feel the demon's presence in the room very clearly, but despite throwing out 4 rapid ultraviolet attacks one after the other, you didn't seem to be able to land any of them. Something isn't right, you thought as you ran into the room with Muichiro and spun around with your sword up, getting ready to be attacked by what felt like 6 demons. 6? You thought as you spun around and around looking for them. Wait, is it 6? No. Wait, it's 8! And you spun around to find Muichiro, who was throwing open drawers and cupboards to find this book. Muichiro, wait! You yelled. It's... Just then the furniture in the room started to move. A chair was thrown at him and he quickly called for your 3rd form of yellow and sliced it in half easily, and then jumped in front of him and called for your 5th form of blue to throw up a blockade to prevent a desk being hurled at you both. Muichiro had stopped looking for the book by now and had come up behind you to stay behind your barrier. It's not 8 demons separately, you shouted. It's 1 demon, with 8 bodies. Huh? He shouted at you. What? Colour after colour were projected from the end of your sword as you fought the objects in the room being thrown at you. Then a horrid cackle rose from above you, and your hair stood on end. Oh, seems like this is the boss that they've got to fight for the book. Stay tuned for next week, chapter or part 7 coming then. I'll see you then.